The Downtown Rams podcast is brought to you today by Draft. Looking for the best fantasy sports site on the planet? Sign up with Draft today. For a limited time only, our listeners will receive $3 matching their first deposit of at least $10. Use promo code DTR or visit draft.com/DTR to sign up now. Draft. Fantasy for the people. Now enjoy the show.
Caught by Brandon Cooks. Shoot your arrows. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Woods, touchdown. LA. Goff goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge, and Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride. Wow!
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Leto got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did! Racing down the sideline is a key to lead. Gurley for MVP! Touchdown LA! Picked off by John Johnson. Well, it's Dante Fowler who is able to get to Breeze. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl! LA will play for the Lombardi!
Welcome back, guys, to another Downtown Rams podcast. It's episode 267. I'm your host, Jake Alamogan. Joining me, as always, is Alexis Kraft. And this is the Downtown Rams podcast. We do cover the Rams. And right now, I don't think we're very happy with the Rams right now. Coming into this game, the Rams had a golden opportunity, really easy road to the playoffs. They just had to win out, which it sounds kind of crazy, but the Cowboys were playing pretty much the worst football. There were conversation about possibly firing their head coach. The Rams couldn't get a more of a gift type of game on the schedule at this point in the year. And then, of course, they did have to beat the 49ers. But then they had the Cardinals, who they've had great success with. So 2 out of 3 were relatively easy coming into this week. And the Vikings had to play the Packers, and they had to play the Bears on top of the Chargers, who the Chargers looked like, they were finding their rhythm or whatever you want to call it. The worst of all worlds happened on Sunday. And I mean, the 49ers lost, and that's great, but it only is like salt in the wounds because it's just a total missed opportunity for the Rams. For those of you who aren't really paying attention to the whole scenario game, and I understand it if you don't really want to get into all that and you just want to wait until week 17, totally understand that. But basically, the Rams had to win one game against the Dallas Cowboys, and the Vikings had to lose against the Chargers just to take over for that week. Really, the Vikings have to win out if the Rams win out. So this was just a huge opportunity loss for the Rams, basically. The Rams now, they'll fall to 8-6. So all they can do is finish with 10 wins, which would be the lowest or the worst record in Sean McVay's head coaching career since taking over for the Rams. I got a lot of thoughts on this, Alexis. I know you do as well. This was a debacle. To basically come off a Sunday Night Football win against your rival and kind of, restate, reclaim, your case to be a postseason team, right? Kind of the bragging rights came back. Kind of, you were feeling good about the Rams after that win. I mean, I think anybody would have. There weren't really any warning flags. The Rams really dominated in all 3 phases of that game. But to let this Cowboys team, that for a second, if you think that they're a good football team, you are wrong. To let them dominate you, just absolutely embarrass you in the latter portion of the season, a game that was so meaningful and so imperative to your playoff hopes. It's inexcusable. The coaching staff really just wasn't there. I think the preparation was a joke. I think the only thing you could take away is Tyler Higbee was great as he went over 100 yards again for the 3rd straight game. And, I would definitely say Johnny Hekker was great, but that is it. And it was bad. It was very bad.
Yeah, it was pathetic. For people who like it when I rant, or for people who hate it when I rant, I'm going to do it anyway. It's just the issue was, so we started off the season okay. We then had a really bad stretch, and then it kind of looked like we were coming out of that stretch. The last couple games, it seemed like we were kind of getting to our rhythm. Goff was more comfortable. McVay was kind of getting back to his old game plan. We got Gurley more involved. The offensive line was starting to play better. And then we came out against the Cowboys, which, like you said, are not a good football team, and they made us look stupid. We against the game against the Seahawks, I think gave Rams fans a lot of false hope, in the sense that, listen, we beat the Seahawks fair and square. We played a good game and we beat them. And everybody wanted to say, people who weren't Rams fans, oh, well, it's because the Seahawks had an off game. Well, we might have just proved that, because for us to go play like that against the Seahawks to then play like this against the Cowboys is really inexcusable. It honestly reminds me of a Jeff Fisher Rams team who could beat anybody and lose to anybody. It just looked like a game where there's no game plan when you look at this Rams team. I mean, nobody knows what the hell's going on ever. It kind of looked like that was starting to turn around the past couple games, but this past game was honestly, it was miserable to watch. It was miserable coaching. It was miserable quarterback play from Mr. 110 million guaranteed. It was a miserable defensive performance. I mean, overall, it was just kind of like, what the hell is going on? I don't think anybody really knew. I think that, unfortunately now the Rams have put themselves in a position where they have to hope that other teams win or lose. And you never want to, as a team, you never want to put yourself in a position to have to rely on other teams. You want to go out and you want to win and you want to get that playoff berth yourself. You want to, control your own destiny, and the Rams have dropped the ball. They just completely, threw out, that hope of controlling their own destiny when they lost to the Dallas Cowboys. And they deserve that loss, guys. I mean, that's the truth. The Rams didn't show up to play, and the Cowboys did. There's a lot of different things that we could talk about. I mean, there's so many, but I mean, at the end of the day, everything kind of comes down to lack of urgency. And I don't know why, and I've said this before on the show, I don't know why the Rams are playing like things like they're just gonna win and like they're good enough to win without doing anything. I truly don't understand the entitlement and where that's come from. We saw it all the entire beginning of the season, and then they kind of picked it up and were kind of like, oh, okay, maybe we need to work and do it. And then they fell back into that. Like, I don't understand why the Rams think they're just going to walk out into the field and win. It looks like nobody shows up to play. I understand that Jared Goff had a little hard time with our bad offensive line in the beginning of the season. Well, now his offensive line is fixed and they're actually playing halfway decent, and Jared Goff still doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, he's made some good plays, but again, he's still making these plays, throwing, where a receiver isn't, throwing to a receiver's feet, holding onto the ball, doing things that are just not worthy of the contract he was given. And that's unfortunate for us because, listen, we're in a situation now where a lot of our good players, for example, Jalen Ramsey, are going to want to get paid. Dante Fowler is going to want to get paid. And we can't keep both of them most likely because we're paying Jared Goff all this money and Jared Goff is playing like crap. So I think, right now it's tough because, you don't want to be negative and you don't want to rail on the Rams and you don't want to, be doomy and gloomy or whatever. But, it's unfortunate, because, the Rams, it's not like the Rams have been playing their asses off and have put themselves in a great position, have been winning games, but it's just, you know what? Oh, well, the Seahawks and the 49ers, they're good too. They took the spots. We did all we could do. It's the literal opposite. The Rams have put themselves in this situation. And really everybody's to blame here. You can't just blame one person.
Yeah. Exactly. You can't just blame one person. You can't just blame a unit. You can't just blame, right? I mean, there's so much that goes into a loss like this. First off, you had a week of preparation. Maybe the Cowboys had a little bit more preparation because you played at night on Sunday, but give me a break. It's not that big of a deal. They've played on Sunday night before and they've bounced back and won. it's like you don't even know because you're not there. You know what I mean, Alexis? Like you and I aren't there, so we couldn't say, well, they gave these guys days off, and they're not practicing to win, and like we can't get into all that because we're not there. But I will say this: Jared Goff might have been hurt in that game with his hand. My biggest issue is he wasn't playing well before that. And when he got hurt, I think, they still had somewhat of a chance. The game was not completely out of reach when he hit his hand on the helmet of a Cowboy defender. But to see that and, then he's even worse. I felt like they should have turned to Blake Bortles instantly. On top of that, what have we
Bad
learned?
coaching.
Like really, what have we? Well, what have we learned about running the football, right, and not abandoning the run, and how it's so important. I'll tell you right now, a game that happened right after this one, it was the Steelers and Bills. That game was a 17-10 game. I swear to God, I was watching the Rams offense because it was like. They wanted Devlin Hodges to throw the ball 38 times, which he hasn't done all year against a Super Bowl defense in Buffalo. And they basically used the excuse of the fact, there were 9 guys in the box, so he couldn't run the football, even though they got 8 carries for 42 yards out of James Conner. Like, why? Like, you are an NFL play caller. I don't understand how, we really have to abandon the run and just focus on throwing the ball down the field. Goff he hasn't been able to do it with consistency. He has 1 touchdown more than he has interceptions on the season. I'm so tired of the whole, well, it's not Goff, it's this guy can't catch, and this guy's a bum, and this offensive line, and Sean McVay. No. Jared Goff is 100% to blame for Jared Goff's throws, okay? Like when Jared Goff completely misses a receiver, that's on Jared Goff. And I mean, I saw today, Alexis, on social media, and I get it's Monday. It's not a victory Monday. It's one of the worst Mondays of the year. And I see people saying, well, if Jared Goff wasn't, pressured so much, maybe he wouldn't be getting the ball out so quickly, and maybe that's why he's thrown so many interceptions. No, because the interception he threw, he had plenty of time, and I don't even know what the hell he was doing. He tried to get it in between 4 defenders, and he didn't really get punished for that in this game. He should have thrown 3 picks. He really was he was rolling the dice, and I mean, they went away from the running game. Jared Goff's inaccuracy and just his inconsistencies. The defense couldn't stop Ezekiel Elliott. The same defense, I'm not going to say the same exact defense, but the Rams did also stifle Ezekiel Elliott in the playoff game last year to beat the Cowboys. So it was kind of confusing how Wade Phillips decided, let's give up another 40 points for the 3rd time this season. It was just really disappointing. It was extremely disappointing. I think, for fans that are telling other fans how to feel, I think you're absolutely wrong. I think this whole idea, like, we've been through so much. Okay, I don't care. Like, the thing that made the Super Bowl, bearable, despite the fact that the Rams lost to, of all teams, the New England Patriots, who I can't stand, for a 2nd time in the Super Bowl. The thing that made that bearable, Alexis, was the fact that I could at least take solace in knowing the Rams will be back, and they're probably going to be back next year. And this is a team that's not far away. And literally in the 2nd year of this guy's head coaching career, he takes in the Super Bowl. They're not done, and they'll be a consistent winner. To see the playoff door slamming shut on the Rams a year after they were in the Super Bowl, that makes me sick. What makes me even more sick is to have people like so okay with it. Like, well, we'll get him next year. Well, no. Because if you believe 100% that the Rams made the right decision in paying Jared Goff, and now you're saying, well, we'll get him next year. I hate to break it to you, but Jared Goff, paying him was not the right move. because Jared Goff, and I mean, he can change your opinion. Guys change people's opinions. It happens. Tannehill is killing it in Tennessee, but Miami Tannehill was never looking this good. It happens. But right now, Jared Goff has taught me everything I need to know. He is not consistent, and he is way too erratic, and he is not good enough to lead this team to a Super Bowl again. I mean, if everything doesn't go perfectly, this Rams team won't sniff the playoffs, because this is how it's looking. I've said it before, and then I continue to backtrack and try to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. And again, I don't hate Jared Goff. I actually like him, and I want to like him more, but he's frustrating because, you know, he is Sam Bradford with better weapons around him, and he's tougher. You know, he's less injury prone, and he's got better stuff around him. If Sam Bradford was in this offense, the Rams would make the playoffs. I mean, Jared Goff has played exceptionally terrible this year. I mean, that's the thing that people aren't realizing. It's not like he's been average. Hell, if the Rams got average Jared Goff, if they got a little bit less than 2017 Jared Goff, this team is in the playoffs. He has not been able to lead a fourth quarter comeback and win a game for the Rams this year. He's not. And they have needed him to, and he has not been able to. And the inconsistencies with Wade Phillips' defense. It's just it can all fall on Goff, it can all fall on Wade, it can fall on McVay, but at the end of the day, it's a collective effort, and the Rams blew it. Now, they're still alive. It's probably the best opportunity, I guess, that they've had in as far as a team that doesn't control their own destiny, because they literally just have to focus on winning 2 games and having 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, just one team lose the next 2. It's possible, but it's not likely. And as much as I want to sit here and say I hate the Vikings and I want the Vikings to lose and I despise them and I hate the Cowboys because the Cowboys are going to get in that crappy division, the Rams just proved on Sunday that regardless if the playoff system is flawed, they don't belong there.
No,
and
I
that is
agree.
that.
They don't deserve it, guys. But you know what? The Cowboys don't either, and they're getting in the playoffs. So, there's still a shot for the Rams. Like you said, it's very unlikely. I wouldn't bank on it at this point. To close, I just kind of want to retouch on something about Jared Goff, because this has been something that I have been harping on basically all season. Guys, I'm not going to get into speculation about why Jared Goff is playing the way that he's playing. There's a lot of different, rumors that circulate and whatever. Honestly, a lot of them are believable. But at the end of the day, this is a guy that we gave a historic contract. When that happened, I wasn't necessarily even a big fan of it, not because I didn't think he potentially wasn't deserving, but just because that's a lot of money, and there is a salary cap in the NFL. And it has come back to haunt us, because guess what, guys? Jared Goff, if he doesn't get better, no one's going to trade for him. No one's going to take on that contract. We're going to be stuck with him. It's already affecting guys that we can re-sign and sign in free agency. So basically right now, we just have to put all of our faith in Jared Goff and hope that he bounces back. The way that he's been playing has been atrocious. I'm sure he knows it. I'm sure he hears it. I'm sure he reads it. I like the guy. I feel, I don't like that he's playing like this, not just because I'm a Rams fan, but because I actually do like Jared Goff. But at the end of the day, he's played abysmal. He has a lot to work on. I don't feel safe with him at quarterback right now. I don't feel hopeful for the Rams' future, and he's going to have to really prove to us, you know what, not even the rest of the season, but to start off next season, he's going to really have to prove to us that he's improved and that he's here to stay and that he's worth all that money that we gave him, because right now it's not looking like it. So, we really just have to hope that these last 2 games, the Rams can close out. We have to hope that they figure it out and that things go better.
I agree. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. The Rams need to win out regardless if you make the playoffs or not. you need to end this season on a positive note. I can sit here and sulk and be, negative, but I think we're just being realists. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're being too negative. During the live stream that I did on Facebook, I had a lot of people agreeing with me and appreciating me being real. And I think that's the most important thing. If you're going to, throw on a podcast, a day after you watch your favorite team lose in a season that only has 16 games, in a sport that doesn't, last that long. We want to give you content that's going to be real. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And I know Alexis isn't either. I mean, the Rams played like crap. And this is, this is just this is the 2019 Rams. Like you mentioned, alluded to, we've talked about. This team is like a Jeff Fisher football team. They can beat anybody and they can lose to anybody. Jeff Fisher, people forget, Jeff Fisher had games where they won 52-0 against the Raiders, or they, stifled Peyton Manning's Broncos, or, you know what I mean? Like, they had games where they were like, okay, this team is scary. I don't want to play this team if I need to win the next 3 games to make the playoffs. However, this is also a team that would blow, leads that they had in the final 5 minutes. This is a team that could get blown out. And I feel like this is the Rams for you. This is the 2019 Rams. Last year, they blew teams out of the water, and then they had a rough patch, and then they adjusted to the fact that their engine of the offense, Todd Gurley, was injured. And so they got C.J. Anderson. They made it a little bit better. And I think the offense slowly but surely wore down. I think the offensive line wore down. 2017 was an offense that no one had any tape on, so we weren't really sure how it was going to go. And they came out firing on all cylinders, really. And then, slowly but surely, guys like Mike Zimmer and other defensive coordinators found a way to stop the Rams. And then, of course, the Falcons game. But, this year has been it's all about the talent they have and the production they continue to not receive out of it. The fact of the matter is, I think that they've found some pieces for the long term. I think they do have to bring Corey Littleton back. I do like the players that they have, but they're going to have to make some tough changes. And Alexis, I think it's going to be one of the more interesting off seasons in recent memory. And that's saying a lot, because every off season seems to be interesting, but this is a year, if the Rams don't make the playoffs, and that's the way it's looking, you're going to look back at the 49ers game. You're going to look back at the Steelers game, the Buccaneers game, the Seahawks game, all these games that you let slip away. And I know the 49ers game, they really, didn't let slip away, but they were only down 20-7. It's not like that game was such a blowout. But my point is, they let all these games slip away, and it's going to cost them. And I think, regardless, if they were just one win away from making the playoffs, Stan Kroenke's not going to care. None of the big wigs don't care. They like dollar signs and they like success. And I think you're really dipping into a weird off season. If the Rams indeed, in the way it's looking, they have a 5% chance of making the playoffs. If they indeed lose, or if they don't make the playoffs, I think you're looking at an interesting offseason where the only one I would 100% say is a lock is Aaron Donald. I think the Rams could trade anybody on that roster, and I think that really it's Aaron Donald and Sean McVay. That is literally it. So that's really all I have to say on that. I think, when you don't get success like that and you spend picks on these players and you trade picks away and you make all these maneuvers, you have to have success, because if you don't, things come back to bite you.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
Yeah. So that's going to do it, for Jake Elmo. She's Alexis Kraft. This has been the Downtown Rams podcast, episode 267. We'll be back again to, talk about the Rams 49ers game. Should be interesting. We'll try and do our best to not look at it like it's a play for pride type of game, and just, do what the Rams have to do, focus one game at a time. And once again, if you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you guys take care.